This is the Sig Mosquito. What we have is, well, we'll just start off with all the basic stuff. We have the trigger, which is a double action, single action pull. So the very first time you pull the trigger, if the hammer is down, the hammer is going to ride back, which is one action, and then go forward, which is a second action, hence double action. If you've already fired the gun, or if you've cocked the hammer back, you're going to pull the trigger, and pulling the trigger is going to do one action, which is going to release the hammer and let the hammer fall forward and fire the gun. So that's your double action, single action. We have a takedown lever, a decock lever, slide stop lever, and a mag release button. And basically what we have is, if we have a magazine inserted, we're going to release a slide with the slide stop lever. We can decock, since it's now in a single action mode, which means the hammer is back. If you were to pull the trigger now, it would release the hammer. We're going to pull the decock lever down, and that's going to drop the hammer. Now if you wanted to fire the gun, when you pull the trigger, it's going to be a double action pull. As you pull the trigger back, it's going to pull the hammer back, and when it gets all the way to the back, it's going to release the hammer. So it's going to be doing two actions: pulling the hammer back and releasing the hammer. Now the mag release button is just a simple, you press it in, it releases the mag. Now with the mag in it, the mag is empty. If we pull the slide back, it's got a slide stop. The mag on the last round should hold the slide back. Again, slide stop lever, decock lever, mag release. These all mimic your basic classic series Sig. This one here, like I said, has a threaded barrel on it. If you wanted to run a suppressor on this, it also has a rail. If you wanted to put a light on it, the sights on it are kind of just plastic. They're okay. Not very good. Again, this is just a plinking toy. I mean, for under $300, you're getting what you pay for. Is it an awesome quality gun? It's okay. Are there better guns out there? Yeah. You could pay a little bit more money, get something a little better. But in its class, it's a pretty decent gun. And the nice thing about it, compared to a lot of the other guns out there that are in its class, this actually mimics a real gun. A lot of the other guns, they don't fall in the same category as, you know, like a Buckmark. Buckmark's a very great gun. It doesn't mimic a 1911. It doesn't mimic a Beretta. Obviously, this doesn't mimic a Beretta either, but I mean, this is made to mimic the SIGs. It is a SIG. So as far as getting a gun that you could take to the range and mimic the other guns that you have, if you own other SIGs, this is the thing you can look for. It's a cheap little fun gun to shoot. Again, it's not a competition gun, so don't look for something, you know, to do other than backyard plinking or maybe just some cheap training with it. It's a lot of fun to shoot. I kind of hate to say that, you know, with some of the malfunction problems that you'll have with it, it does give you a real life opportunity to say, hey, you know, it didn't fire, what do I got to do? So do I got to rack tap and reload? You know, do I got to pull the trigger again? You know, what's going on? It's kind of sad that it's not 100% running gun, but again, you can blame a lot of that on ammo, 22 ammo pistols. You know, doesn't have a very big charge in it, and sometimes they just don't light off and function the way they should in higher caliber guns. So all in all, I rate it, you know, a pretty decent gun for the money. It's not, like I said, if you get used to HKs and high-end SIGs and stuff like that, I mean, you might be a little disappointed because it doesn't run 100% all the time. But this one here, like I said, as it sits right now, it probably has 1,400 rounds through it. I'm sorry, 10,350 rounds. It's got quite a bit of rounds through it and everything. It was functioning pretty good up until we had the slide problem with it. Sig did replace the slide on it. It did take a few rounds again before it started functioning a little bit better, but right out of the box after they replaced the slide, I couldn't run a mag through it. I couldn't get 3 or 4 rounds through it without having some issues. So it may work itself out again and be a very good gun again, but right now as it sits, it seems every mag that we shoot through it, we do have an issue, whether it's a failure to feed, a failure to eject, and obviously I can't really blame too much of the light primer strikes because I'll blame that on ammo most of the time, but failure to feeds and failure to ejects, you get some of them where it just stovepipes, some of them it just doesn't even pull the round out of the chamber. So it's, you know, it's got some issues. All in all, though, for the price of it, if you're looking to something that's going to mimic your classic series Sig, you know, take a look at it. See if you can go to the range and shoot it a little bit. It does have a small grip to it. They supposedly say this is 10% smaller than a .226. I think it's, I don't know, 10% scaling down. It seems a little bit smaller than that. The trigger guard is very small. Obviously, you can see my finger in the trigger guard there. I mean, there's not a lot of room. Small hands, children, great gun. It fits in your hand. It actually fits your hand pretty nice. But other than the controls and everything being shrunk down a little bit for a larger hand, it might be a little harder to shoot. But all in all, it's a good gun. Like I said, I rate it pretty decent. It's a worthwhile to look at. Go to the range, rent one, see what you think. Today we're just kind of screwing around in the shop a little bit. We're going to be test firing a Sig Mosquito with some Winchester Wildcat, some Remington Red Box, Federal Red Box and Remington Gold Box, and then some Stinger rounds. First up is the Winchester Wildcats. We had a failure to feed. It didn't jam, it just didn't grab the next round. That's Winchester Wildcats, third shot. We got a failure to fire off of a single action, but it lit on the double action. Again, another failure to fire on a single action, but it lit on a double action. Here's Stingers. Notice the sound difference with these. Same thing, had two failure to fires off of a single action. Let's load up some Federal Red Box. I have to apologize, I don't have a full magazine of the Red Box. We're going to shoot at the left shoulder. Failure to fire on single action. Cocked it again for another single action try. Another failure to fire. Actually, it was not a failure to fire, it was a failure to feed. And last, let's try a box of, 10 rounds of the Remington Gold Box. And we're going to shoot at the right shoulder this time. Ten rounds of Remington Gold Box, right shoulder. There we had a failure to, I don't know if I can get that in there. It didn't feed up the ramp properly. That was the second shot. Third shot, I'm sorry. Failure to fire off a single action. Fired on a double action. And there we go.